Okay, so anything that you notice that we jot down up on the board, or you hear in class that you think is important to one of the topics you can jot that down. Okay, we'll go through everything, and then I'll talk about the test and what's going to be on it and so on. So, all right, let's start with the interpretation of the Constitution. So the interpretation of the Constitution, what are some things you jotted down when you were looking up things about interpreting the Constitution? Zach?
Well, I had said that Hamilton had a loose interpretation, so it was flexible.
All right, so Hamilton had a loose interpretation, meaning it was a flexible interpretation of the Constitution. And what in the Constitution did he, point out as a reference? Garrett?
The listing clause.
All right, what else do you have here for the interpretation? Eli?
Jefferson thought it was very strict.
Jefferson and Madison thought it was very strict. And what was it that they were debating over that led to all of this, Cameron?
The government has no power for a bank.
Okay, so they said no bank. And he said bank. Right? Good. Anything else on interpretation? You got something, Drake?
I put like the Democratic Republicans
Oh, okay. So you also also besides Jefferson and Madison, you've got the Democratic Republicans had a strict interpretation of the Constitution, and that would mean that the Federalists would have a loose interpretation of the Constitution. Okay, good. All right, we've got the growth of political parties. All right, so what led to the growth of political parties, do you think? What happened, Eli?
People having different opinions.
When did this all start, the growth of political parties? When do you think it even started, Bromley?
After Washington's.
Not after, the growth. They were put in after, but...
I would say at the writing of the Constitution before
Yeah.
it was ratified.
Pretty much, but let's put started during Washington's first term, because these guys, it would have started during the Constitution. I probably wouldn't count that wrong because it's true. But what we talked about in class is it started during Washington's first term when Hamilton and Jefferson were arguing about whether or not there should be a bank. All right, so there's your growth. Anything more on the growth? We don't have to have the parties yet. We're not there yet. This one's a tough one. First president. Page.
George Washington.
Okay, George Washington. And what is kind of interesting about him, Dylan?
Only president to be elected unanimously.
Only president to be elected unanimously. Unanimously. I already had a start for the spell wrong. Okay. Then, as going in with that is the inauguration. Well, what does it mean to be inaugurated? Cameron?
Sworn into presidency.
Yep, sworn in. Sworn in. So the inauguration means to be sworn in. I'm going to move over to the next page because cabinet might take a little bit longer. Yeah, Drake, you ready for cabinet?
No, I have a question on inauguration.
Yeah.
We put where it
Oh, yeah. What did you have for where?
Federal Hall and on April 30th.
April 30th. What city? For George Washington.
Huh?
What city?
New York City.
Yeah, New York City. April 30th in New York City, yeah.
I also have, since it's the inauguration of the president in this case, it has to be done by the Chief Justice, unless it is in duress, which then so in case it's like assassination, then it can be distributed by any officer for the peace.
Good. Yep. Very good. All right. Let's talk about George Washington and his cabinet. Well, what is the cabinet? Eli?
It's the group of people he picked to run specific things.
Okay, and what would they be doing? What would they really officially be doing? advising the president. So they would advise the president, and what were our 4 positions in the cabinet that George Washington came up with? What were his 4, Zach?
Secretary of Treasury,
Secretary of Treasury,
Secretary of War, and then I can't remember. Yeah.
what? What'd you say?
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, and there's one more. Anyone got it? Dylan?
Attorney General.
The Attorney General.
Now, on the test, would you care if we put like war and money and like?
I want you to put Treasury.
When did they change it to defense?
It's
Because
defense
I
today.
know, but like when? Because I don't.
I don't know when they changed it to defense. I'll have to find that. I'm not sure. I know they did, but I don't know when. You won't have to know the names of these people. All right, so I'm not going to make you know the names of them, but Hamilton. We know he's the Secretary of Treasury. The reason I'm going quicker is because you should have had this stuff down already, so I'm not going to wait for you to write it. If you didn't have it down, that's your problem. Hamilton's financial plan, it was a 3-step plan, and give me one of those steps, Hunley. You don't have it down, do you? And you're not writing anything, so you're not gonna take those free, easy 15 points that I'm giving you right now. Drew,
Pay off all war debts.
yeah, get your paper out and start doing what you're supposed to be doing, Hunley. Pay off all war debt. Give me another one, Dustin.
Raise government revenue.
Raise government revenue. Garrett.
And then create federal banks.
Create a national bank. These are our 3. James, are you getting stuff too? Good boy. Alright, so that's Hamilton's financial plan. That was what he wanted to do to help the economy in our country. He thought that this would get us growing as a good country. You have more for that, Drew?
Yeah, Hamilton 1, federal government to pay off all the war debts of the states. Our southern states are to pay their debt and would not help the southern states. And then came another thing
They came to an agreement and how did they get the southern states to help us out?
to put their capital.
Put capital in the south. And
The Potomac River.
Potomac River. And where would that capital be located? What's the name of it?
So,
Does anyone know what the name of that new capital will be, where they're going to move off the Potomac River, PJ? Washington, D.C. Good. Okay, next up, you've got the Whiskey Rebellion. Okay, so tell me about the Whiskey Rebellion, Eli.
It was a rebellion of the farmers because there was a tax put on whiskey, which was pretty much their main product from all the stuff that they grew.
Good, there was a tax on whiskey. The farmers rebelled because whiskey was pretty much what they grew. What did George Washington do to this? Did he let it happen, Zach?
No, it's at like, I think it's 13,000 soldiers to stop it.
Yep. To show them that the government was going to not let them just rebel. All right, they're going to be able to enforce their laws. So that's why he sent so many. Noah?
Yeah, not with the troops, they sent so many because they didn't want the government to seem like they were weak.
Right. Didn't want them to think the government was weak. All right. Neutral? First of all, what does neutral mean? Brownlee?
It means you're not really picking a side, you're just kind of in the middle.
Yeah, let's put in the middle. I like that. In the middle, didn't pick a side. And what was it that we were remaining neutral in, Brownlee? Go ahead.
French Rebellion.
Revolution, yeah. We were neutral in the French Revolution. And why? Garrett?
We had British as our biggest trading ally, and then France was also our biggest ally from after the war.
Okay, so the British were our biggest trading partners. The French were our good friends, and they helped us during our war. So we've got these 2 guys that are both our friends that are fighting each other, and we can't decide whether or not to, which side to pick. And remember, we chose to be neutral, and so what did the British start to do to us?
Attack our ships.
Attack our ships. Well then, because we were still trading with the British, what did the French then start to do to us? Attack our ships. All right? So, everybody's attacking our ships. No one's happy with us. Foreign policy. Well, before we talk about why this was mentioned, what is foreign policy? What is foreign policy? Who can tell me? Drake Dodson.
It's basically like not keeping a permanent ally.
That's what Washington said. That's not what foreign policy is. Drake Peterson.
Relations with the government of other.
Yeah. The relation with other countries' governments. Then Drake Dodson said Washington. What?
Their country
Government. I'm
Yeah,
just
I know,
shortening
but-
things. So you know, that's what you do in notes.
But it's other country, shouldn't be other countries.
Yeah, but that would be longer to write. So when you're taking
Yeah,
notes,
but
you.
still.
Yeah, but when you're taking notes, this is how you take notes when you get to college and you have to write and stuff.
I think
You
four
shorten it
months.
as much as you can. It takes a lot longer.
Yeah, it
You'll
does.
want to do it in college. So George Washington said what? Drake?
He told them not to keep permanent allies.
Avoid permanent allies. Alright, so he did everything, he told them to avoid permanent allies. He also warned them about political parties, we know that. What did he say about political parties? What did he warn them about? Eli?
That it could split up the country.
Yeah, he said stay away from political parties, could divide the country. What is a political party? Colby, what's a political party? No.
It's people that tries to promote its ideas to the government.
Group that tries to promote their ideas. And they also usually will support a specific candidate. Okay. What were those first two political parties, Garrett?
Federalists and Democratic Republicans.
Good, you got the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. If you put on the test and on the quiz, some of you put, for the first two political parties, some of you put Democrat, Republican for 1 and 2. And I counted 1 point because you're kind of right, but if you put that, I'm looking for the whole thing. You have to put Democrat, Republican. Okay? If you just put Democrat, I'm not going to count it. Okay? I want Democrat, Republican.
Aren't the first two parties really anti-federalists and federalists?
That was, I guess you could go with that, but this is what I'm going to look for.
First parties after the Constitution?
Yeah, after the Constitution, when we're talking within our government under the Constitution, yeah. Okay? You probably should know a little bit about their beliefs. So make sure you look at that chart in your book, or actually there's a chart in your notes, and look at what their beliefs are. So there's a chart in your notes that if you don't have that stuff jotted down, you want to know those. Okay? Number 2 president. Peyton. John Adams. Barely won, remember? And he now has some problems. And what are some of his problems, Eli?
No one really likes him anymore.
Okay. I won't accept that. I'm going to erase that because I don't want you to think I'm going to accept it. No one really liked him. Why? Unless you tell me why. Zach?
He made a lot of bad choices.
Specifically, what are some...
He wouldn't go to war.
Huh?
He wouldn't
Okay.
go to
He
war.
would not go to war.
The Federalists wanted to.
They just like that as a party.
He wanted to talk it out. Okay, what else? PJ?
Well, then he couldn't really tax Washington.
Yeah.
presidency.
It's tough to follow George Washington as president because,
He did some-
Tough the first president.
yeah. So if you've taken a look at, 305, 306, and 307, okay, what was going on that he didn't want to go to war, but everybody else did? Zach?
That was when the French were taking our vessels.
Okay. France was attacking our ships. And then also because he wouldn't go to war, people were talking bad about him. And so what did he put out there, Noah? No? Eli?
I can't remember the name, but it pretty much stopped it stopped the press from releasing anything against the president.
Yep. Do you remember what it's called?
Sedition acts.
Alien and Sedition Acts. And he became an enemy for people because with this. And then the last thing, yeah, I guess it
I
was.
was gonna say it was a blatant reminder that he was trying to overthrow the First Amendment.
Good, yes, freedom of speech. And then the last thing he did was he made peace with France instead of going to war again. Pissed some people off. Oh, Go-
Expensive.
going along with this Alien and Sedition Act, what did Jefferson and Madison come up with that they said, you're violating this? Yeah?
States' rights.
States' rights. And what are states' rights? Buddha? Huh? You didn't have your review done? Had like 4 days. You guys had 4 days to get your review done. Lena, what do you got for states' rights?
It was a theory,
Yes?
and it was that states had the right to judge when the federal government passed unconditionally and unconstitutional law.
Well, so a little bit easier. States have rights that the government cannot take away. And Jefferson and Madison thought that John Adams was violating their states' rights with this Alien and Sedition Act. Okay. So, they were upset about that. Now, mine's all sloppy. Because you had 4 days to do this, yours better not be all sloppy or you're not going to get the full points. Better be good and organized tomorrow. Okay. Any questions on any of the things that we reviewed that you have down? I'm going to talk about the test here in a second. Okay, there's 2 essays. 2 essays. I'll give you the topics if you want them. Let's see, what color am I on? Yeah. So the essay, like I said, there's 2 essays. One of them is on Hamilton and Jefferson's interpretation of the Constitution. All right, so you'll want to know that. That is one of the topics. Do you guys want to study for? You want to jot this down? Keep your reviews out, please. Okay. And so that's one topic. And the second topic of the essay is on the growth of political parties. Okay, so those are 2 essays, and they're each worth 10 points. Okay, you want to have specific details, specific examples. Okay, so don't just be very general. I'm looking for specifics here on these essays. And then, so that's 2 essays. And then the short answer, there's 10 short answers that all have to do with the previous things that you had to review on. So anything on the review you'll want to take a look at. But these are the 2 that you're focusing on for the essays. The rest will definitely be short answer. All right. Make sure you bring a piece of paper so that you're able to put your answers down on that. Your journal will be due tomorrow, and in a second I'll put up what should be in the title page. So I would go back to your title page right now. Yeah, Zach.
Does it have to be, the essays, do they have to be a certain length?
No, you have to include everything that it asks you. If it says to give this many details and in a specific example, you better have that stuff, okay? Okay, so your journal, and I want everybody on your title page. The title page, guys, does not go after all of the notes. Don't make a new one now. Some of you do that. Go back to your title page that we made at the beginning of chapter 9.
To get points for having a title page when we're writing on the title page.
You wouldn't believe how many people don't have a title page.
That's
It's an easy point. Just follow directions. People can't do it. Come on. Hey. No, they wrote in Word. Is that how? There we go. Oh, boy.
Well, if it's not working, just pull Mr. Rapp, just repeatedly hit the refresh button until it works. Yeah. Especially with the Chromebooks, it's kind of funny.
Oh. Alright. So you should have title page, chapter 9, think about, section 1, terms and cabinet, which was an assignment, section 1, notes, section 2, terms, which was an assignment, section 2, notes, section 3, warm up, section 3, notes, and chapter 9 review, which was an assignment, and then I'm also grading on, are you doing the bullets the correct way, are you indenting and going back out, is your stuff sloppy, is it thrown in there, so, hold on, don't leave, huh?
Shouldn't that be number 10?
Yeah, well, no, because it's not an entry, those are 9 entries and then an organization. Candace, wanna get this down?